want to give you a quick background. Heos is a brand that we always, I guess, intended on pushing. The main reason why initially it had such appeal to us was the association with Denon. And as you guys would know, our two favourite brands. Denon's one of our two favourite brands, and the importance of multi-room and home theatre and having everything combined together. If you're going to have Denon, you're going to need Heos. So it had a logical explanation for us. What we found when Heos first started in the demos was this product did universally sound awesome. And as much as I was saying in the last session, as much as Joe will baffle you with technological stuff and user interfaces and acronyms, the key point here is this is a product that sounds really good. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. All right.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Oh, yes.
Mention also, Arnell is our sales rep. Please introduce yourself to Arnell. Most of you guys on the floor already know him. He represents a lot of our favourite brands. And Joe, he's spent the last few weeks running around the country training the untrainables. So
it's working.
Here's a little video. And yeah, so yeah, Joe, you'll find he knows the product backwards. So I'll hand you across to Joe.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, guys, for your attention. All right, so my name's Joe. I'm the brand manager for Heos here in Australia. So pretty much anything and everything to do with Heos sort of comes back to me. So if you've got any questions, we've got a great support team. And of course, any of your customers or your trade customers, anyone that needs help, just send them through to our support line and someone will be there to help them out. But what we're trying to do here today is to give you a couple of key points. There's three key selling points or points of difference with Heos that if that's all you remember, fantastic. That's all we want to achieve. But I will give you a lot of other stuff and history and information around it, questions that you may get asked, things like that, to try to tick as many boxes. You might remember later on, okay, yeah, Joe said this and that, and I remember that. So whatever helps you guys when you're talking to your trade customers or whatever, then away we go. So we'll talk a little bit about what makes Heos different. And there's, if we had to really nut it down to just 3 points, it would be these 3 points of difference. One, that Heos plays up to high-res music, okay? So that's one big point of difference. Bluetooth, but not just the fact that it's, a wireless, Wi-Fi multi-room audio speaker. The fact that it has Bluetooth, but what it can do with Bluetooth is a nice, unique thing, which we'll go through. And the third point is the connectivity of things like USB, making it simple to share music and play music, and why that's sort of good. So, when you're really looking at the world of wireless multi-room audio, there's a couple of brands that really sort of stand out. And these 3 key points are big points of difference over some of the other brands out there. So when you're talking to a customer and they might be saying, well, why should I buy Heos versus brand A, B, C, X, Y, S, B, whatever, then these are 3 key points to focus on. And we'll talk a little bit more about them. So why high res? We call this our biggest difference. Well, high res audio is like your 4K in TV. There's not a lot of content out there at the moment in 4K, right? We all agree. But it is the future. That's where it's all going with TV, right? So customer walks in and says, look, I want something. I don't want to have to replace it in a year. Of course, you're going to show them a 4K TV solution or, accessories and products that are capable of passing through 4K, right? So it's the same thing with high-res audio. We know that this is the future in audio, streaming services, purchase music, all of that. All of the record labels are supporting high-res music. That's the way it's going. You just do a quick Google search for high-res music and you'll see, the loads of press releases. That's where it's all going. So, other customers might come in and say, well, why? Well, high-res, why is it important? It's future-proofing. You can buy something today that will play up to CD quality from brand B, brand S, whatever, but you're stuck at technology that was released in 1980. That's it. Would you go out and buy a 1080p TV today? Probably not. if you want to keep it for a while, because it's already almost obsolete. So in the same sort of thought pattern, this is where, you know, having something like high res and the ability to play all of the music that's going to be coming through is really, really important. And Heos does that for you. So, you know, when you're talking to a customer, you can liken it to 4K. You can talk about the fact that high res gives you, you know, between 4 to 7 times the audio quality difference. Okay, and or you can say, well, look, or you can go buy the product that you've been looking at or whatever, which is based on technology like CD, which is great, nothing wrong with it, but that was 1980. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so that's a good little point to make people aware of, and of course, you know, you can show them the Heos music system after that. This is a little chart where it's really difficult, but what we've tried to do is show, like on a graph, the audio quality difference. So this is not about file sizes or sizes of audio or anything like that. It's really just, okay, what's the perceivable or the quality audio content difference between various formats, like MP3, you know, M4A, which is your, you know, your Apple format, at 64 kilobits per second, 96, 128, 320. What sort of streaming services, you know, use those formats or those bit rates, those qualities, and then, okay, when we get to CD, okay, that's where it is. That's, you know, great quality. We know that. That's the benchmark, right? No CD is great. And then when we get to high res, okay, well, it starts to get exponential. Now, I'm going to come back because the reality is, we know about 4K TV. When you look at a 4K picture, is it 4 times better than a 1080p picture? Technically, it's 4 times the resolution, right? There's 4 times the amount of data, but is it 4 times better? No, not really. But the reality is that it definitely is an improvement. It definitely is better. Right, so you're sort of starting to get to that pointy end of the curve where, you know, lots of difference, you know, on paper might equate to, you know, a small increase in experience. And it's the same thing with high-res audio. So even though there's a lot more data in that file, not necessarily a bigger file, but there's a lot more audio information, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hear 7 times better sound or 4 times better sound, right? Our hearing is limited. But is there more detail? Does it sound better? Does it sound warmer, more natural? Absolutely. So there's no question that high-res audio is the way forward, and that's why it's important to make your customers aware and, you know, tradespeople and so forth that, you know, moving forward, this is the way to go. All right. So over here, so that's the one key point of difference. The next one is Bluetooth. Now, I mean, you know, Bluetooth, what are you talking about Bluetooth? Bluetooth's boring, you know, we've had it for years. Well, what Heos does, it's a little bit different, is the ability to share that across the Wi-Fi. So with Heos, you can be connected via Bluetooth and at the same time also connected across Wi-Fi or the network. So even though Bluetooth is traditionally a point-to-point sort of, you know, connection, so your phone within 10 meters is connected to a speaker, what Heos is then able to do is then rebroadcast that out across Wi-Fi to every other zone and share that in perfect synchronization. So that's cool, because now all of a sudden, if you've got multiple speakers, remember this is really about building, you know, a whole house or a whole site full of sound, you can share that Bluetooth audio around. And Bluetooth's simple, everyone knows it, they use it in their car. You know, they might come in and ask, and this is the point. When they come in and ask for, you know, a Bluetooth speaker, looking at a Bluetooth speaker, they probably don't know that they can then share that out. You might ask, well, what are you going to do for, you know, hey, do you want to be able to play that everywhere else in the home? Oh yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's a great idea. I don't want to have to repair in every room that I go. So this is where Heos really is quite unique. So you can say something like, well, let me show you a solution that gives you the best of both wireless worlds. Oh, what do you mean both? Well, not just Bluetooth, but also Wi-Fi, because then you can group things up. And of course, as you know, being connected to Wi-Fi and the internet then gives you the ability to play Spotify and Deezer and Tidal and iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, all these other benefits, even playing music that's stored on a PC or a NAS drive or whatever it might be. So there's another world of audio capabilities with Wi-Fi, but you've still got that beauty of having Bluetooth. And with a product like this, which is a little Heos One, that's on a battery pack, you can take that anywhere. Camping, caravan, beach, you know, whatever. That'll last 6 hours and off you go. You can, you know, out by the, you know, the pool if you like. So it can still be connected via Wi-Fi when you come back home, and Bluetooth when you're out and about. Another great thing is, friends come over, you're having a party, you got, you know, sound playing everywhere. You don't want to give them your Wi-Fi access necessarily. Some are good friends, you might not care. Some are not so good friends, you might think, nah, might not give him my Wi-Fi password, right? So, but they want to play something, they might have a cool album or whatever, or a different music service, so they can just Bluetooth to the one speaker that's playing there. And then of course on your app, which is connected to your Wi-Fi system, you can group that up to all other zones, so you got music playing everywhere. That's pretty neat, right? Here's another great, well, that's music playing right around the home. You know, talking about both wireless options. You know, being able to share that Bluetooth right throughout the home. And then this is the real key clincher. And you know that a lot of customers, I'm sure you've had customers come in and ask, you know, what about playing? You know, how do I play my YouTube music right throughout the home? You know, how do I play YouTube music on my system? And sure, if you've got a soundbar, if you've got an AVR, you know, you can use an Apple TV, you can use a Chromecast, you can use an Android box, and there's 1,000 ways to do it when you've got a TV and you've got a sound system connected to it. But how do you do it, you know, just from a normal little speaker? Okay, well, of course, just Bluetooth, or if you want to share that right around your home, well then Heos will allow you to do it. Connect to one via Bluetooth, and then out you go. Right, if you've got soundbar, of course, then it's possible, of course, as well. So, but that's a really good thing. So, of course, a lot of people like that. So we've discussed two of the key points. One is high-res music, that future-proofing capability, the fact that it'll handle all of that. And the second is it was Bluetooth. Now we're going to talk about the third, which is USB. So it's not just the fact that it's you can connect USB to one speaker and let that play. It's again about the ability to share that content everywhere else. Now what makes Heos a little bit unique is, as you'll see here, we've got a little USB connected to the back of it. So whatever's on that USB can play through this speaker. But this speaker also acts as a server when it's connected to your Wi-Fi network. So even though the USB is connected here, and I want to play something in another room that's on this USB stick, I can do that. So you can have multiple different tracks playing in different rooms, all served from the same USB. Even if this speaker's not playing, it'll still serve it out. That's a cool feature. Particularly for commercial customers, restaurants, bars, pubs, clubs, gyms. You know, someone at gym, a trainer, makes the latest Zumba playlist. You know, they come in, they just want to plug in, bang, away they go. They've got that ability. They open up their app, play it. As soon as they leave, they take their USB and off they go. What happens to a restaurant when their internet's down, for example? How do they play music? USB. Nice and easy. Plug it in. As long as you've still got Wi-Fi, which is an internal, you know, premises thing. Internet's obviously what's coming in from the street. You've got the ability to play whatever's on that USB stick. It's in there, it's loaded, there's no need to do a NAS drive or have a PC on or anything else. It's there ready to go, and it can be played everywhere or individually in different zones. So this sort of illustrates how it can be served all around across the Wi-Fi. So is that sort of clear? That's a really very, very commonly used in, you know, restaurants, cafes and so forth. So a couple of usage cases is, you know, do you want to play, you know, for a consumer, do you want to be able to play the music that you got stored on your computer without having to leave it on all the time? And people understand USB, they know how to transfer files onto USB. It's nice and easy, so that's all they do. They just put their content onto a small USB or a drive, like a little hard drive, and off you go. it'll read that. You know, can I show you the simplest way to play your stored music? That's something you could say. Of course, you know, that's a nice, easy way to do it. All right, so moving on a little bit, they're the 3 key points that if that's all you remember for today, that's great. Remember the high-res audio, which gives you that future-proofing. Remember the ability of Bluetooth and to be able to share that, which is unique. And also the USB, the fact that if there is no internet, you can still play loads of music and select albums and artists through the Heos app. We'll talk about the Heos app in a little while. Now, as Mike sort of said a bit earlier, the fact that Heos, Denon, Marantz, Boston Acoustics, Polk Audio, Definitive Technology are all under the one sort of company umbrella. The benefit there is that you're now starting to see a massive ecosystem of Heos enabled devices. So whether it's just the Heos branded stuff, or whether it's your Denon receivers, Marantz receivers and players, and more to come, it's we sort of say think inside the box, because now it's on board as opposed to the normal sort of thinking outside the box. So the fact is that now Heos, through this ecosystem, allows you to create solutions where Heos can play everywhere. Streaming music is available everywhere. So whether it's your AV receiver or speakers or in-ceiling speakers with an amp or whatever, you've got the right solution for the right room and purpose. So whether it's through the AVRs, there's a couple of sound bars, 4 speakers in different colors. There's amps, both single and multi-zone. There's pre-amplified players, both single and multi-zone. In fact, 27 models to choose from today. We're not talking about in the future. Today there are 27 Heos enabled products, and they all will interact with each other as you'd expect. So it's really good. Great thing is also sharing TV input. This is a big selling point for a lot of commercial customers and especially retail customers. They might have Foxtel connected to an AVR. They want to be able to hear that outside when they're flipping burgers on the barbie or steaks or whatever, right? If the cricket's on or whatever, you want to hear it outside. The footy, whatever you're into, right? That's a great little thing. So imagine those possibilities. Right, so that's a little bit about sort of Heos. We're going to talk a little bit about where it came from here. So this gentleman here, Peter Selinsky, Dr. Peter Selinsky, I should say, he's got a PhD, trained here in Australia. So when we say it's true blue, this was grown out of Australian technology through a lot of Australian government funding. There's a CES Innovations Award there as well, which these guys were the first guys ever to show at the CES, the big show in Las Vegas. They showed wireless surround sound. So a whole wireless 5.1 surround sound system in 2006. Okay, today we do wireless surround sound as well. So whether it's from our Heos AVR or Heos Bar, you've got that capability. These guys, started off, he still works for the company. Obviously, Denon, Marantz at the time said, we love it, got to have it, we're buying you out, and it's gone global and, and it hasn't looked back ever since. But the nice thing is that, all the software engineering, there's about 35 software engineers in North Sydney that just keep pumping out code and updates and features and all that sort of stuff out of North Sydney. But of course, it's a global company, so USA, Japan and Germany all have Heos, either hardware or other development and testing centres around the world. So it's not just a small little startup or anything any longer. The Australian government funding, a lot about CSIRO and how they sort of developed Wi-Fi and back in the sort of 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, there's a lot of history there. On why this technology came out of Australia. It's because of the amount of money the Australian government was pumping into things like Wi-Fi technology and government grants and all that sort of stuff. And that's why the backbone of Heos was developed. So that's just an interesting little side story. Okay, when we talk about customers and, oh, Heos, yeah, I've heard of brand S, I've heard of brand B, and, why should I buy Heos? Oh, you've given them those 3 key selling points, and they're on the verge of saying, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. This might be something that you can use as a bit of a closing statement, something to sort of say, hey, look, if you're really not happy, after 90 days or within 90 days, not after, then bring it back complete in its entirety, packaging, the whole lot, all the accessories, and you know, we'll give you guys your money back, and so obviously you can send it back to us and you can give the customer their money back and they can buy whatever. But with 27 different products, you know, I mean, it's going to be really, really unusual that many people are going to come back and say, yeah, you know, it doesn't suit my purposes. And of course, don't forget, we've got a team of tech support guys. So the first thing they would do is obviously call us. We encourage them to do that when they open the box. You know, if you have any issues, you call us. I don't want them necessarily coming to you, but if they do, I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to get to the bottom of some things. So this is a great little risk-free offer. Makes the customer feel like, you know what, okay, I want to do something. That just gives me a little bit of, you know, confidence that, you know, we wouldn't offer it if we weren't confident in the product, right? Okay. Ooh. Clicker. What's happened here? Sorry guys, I'm not sure what's... It's there? Oh, hang on, I'm going to have to catch up. Sorry guys. Not sure why it's... I've gone through that. Sorry guys, I'll have to click here now. Not sure what's wrong with this. Okay, we've talked about that. Sorry guys. Here we are. 2 years warranty if you register as well. So that's a nice little thing. So if you just customer buys it with their receipt, they go on the Qualify website, they can add an extra year free, you know, if you want to offer that to them. So talk a little bit of what else. So the key things is what we've already talked about. You know, the fact that it's the high res, the Bluetooth and the USB, remember those. But these are just some other things that might help with the whole, you know, sort of story and so forth. So we've even created a little booklet of 56 pages of reviews, all to do with Heos. So, you know, we've got that in PDF format. You know, we had a couple printed. I'm not sure if Anel's got any, because Anel's only fairly new to the company. But look, if you need that, you know, I mean, I've done this with customers. I flicked through it and I said, look at all these reviews. You know, like you can sit here and read it all day, or just look at all these reviews. Take their word for it. It's a good product. Take it home and enjoy it. It's about the music at the end of the day, right? Okay, so a little bit of the insides. You might get asked questions about, okay, what sort of Wi-Fi is it, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Well, we use the latest generation Wi-Fi, and not every wireless multi-room audio company does. Most of them are only using 802.11b, so just the 2.4 gigahertz. Very, very old-fashioned. Okay, great in the sense that it reaches a little bit further, but bandwidth is really, really compromised. So there's not a lot of throughput there. We've always used dual band, so 2.4 and 5 gig technology. And of course, that's no different in this current range. So that means, you know, better stability, more throughput, which is important, especially for things like high-res audio. That's one of the reasons why we offer it, and some other brands don't, because they don't have that data throughput capability. We use Broadcom chipsets, so they're not, you know, we're not using rubbish unknown sort of stuff. This is, you know, really, really good quality stuff, and obviously that evolves into the right user experience. Talking a little about voice control, it's a really, really important part of the market now. A lot of people are buying, you know, or why should I buy, you know, a Heos and not a little Google or a little Amazon Alexa or something like that? Well, yeah, it comes down to sound quality, like Michael said before. It's about the sound. I mean, the sound you're going to get out of this, and the solutions. You know, show me a Google soundbar, you know, and then show me, you know, something else, and the whole wireless multi-room interconnectivity with 27 products is why you would do it. But we work with things like Amazon Alexa, and it works surprisingly and scarily really, really well. I have one at home, the little Amazon Echo Dot, comes in different shapes and sizes, of course, and you can say, hey Alexa, play Beatles radio in the lounge. You would ask that because, you know, whatever the name of your speaker is, lounge, al fresco, bedroom, whatever, that's what you sort of ask for, and then it replies, you know, playing Beatles stations from iHeartRadio. Bang, off it goes within a second. We're not talking about 30 seconds, maximum 2 to 3 seconds. It works surprisingly well. Really, really neat. If you haven't done it, I'm sorry? Google Home, it's on the next slide. So Google Assistant, Google Home, all that sort of stuff, it's all in the pipeline. We want to be able to offer all of the solutions. You know, when you're dealing with different companies and different policies, it becomes hard to get everything on board. Alexa was the first, especially in the US, and they were very open and very willing to get partners on board, so it became a lot easier. And of course, because it's the most used, I think only up until last month I heard that Google had overtaken. Yeah, you guys read that as well. So yeah, look, I think, yeah, well, what I personally think, I think Google is probably the way it'll all go, but there are, you know, use cases for all. However, having said that, it works sensationally well with Alexa. If a commercial customer that might have a doctor's surgery or a, you know, dentistry or something, or they want to use a PC to control Heos, we don't have our own official app just yet. There is something in the pipeline there. But having said that, there is a third-party app for PC, for Windows Mobile, and it's just on the Windows Mobile Store. Just download it. You know, they give you 30-day for free to use it. You can't use it as a setup tool, but you can use it to group and play and select and, you know, change volumes and all that sort of stuff. So it's a great control app. This is just another picture of, you know, like how it's playing, and, you know, a couple of zones that you can group and all that sort of stuff. Works really, really well. At the end of the 30 days, it's just under $5. So it's really neat. Okay, we're gonna switch a little bit now over to the app. So that's still on. Or did the battery go flat? Yeah, no, there it is. Okay, this is good. What I'm going to show you, see how the light is sort of really dim? That's because we haven't played anything for 10 minutes. So it goes into like a sleep mode. But, you know, you can just bring it out just by hitting the app or hitting a button, and then it becomes brighter. And on that, I'll show you later how you can dim that completely down. So if it's in a bedroom, and it's like, it's too bright for me at night, you can just dim that right down on all the products. Okay, so I've got a little mirrored Apple TV thing here happening. I'm just going to try to get it up on the screen. There we go. Right, so this is the app, of course. Who's got it on their phone? I'd encourage you all to have it, because if you're doing a sales pitch or whatever to a customer, it's just great to be able to rip out your own phone and just sort of say, look, you know, here's the app. There's obviously a tablet there, so you can do the same. Sometimes, funnily enough, customers don't get the fact that they think, oh, do I have to buy that as well? It's no, you use your own, but, you know, just be aware of that. That could be something people ask. Sure, you can see all of that? I might stand on this side. Okay, so it's very, very easy. So you've got, you know, all the services and everything that you have access to. So whether it's Deezer, Tidal, Spotify, all that sort of stuff is all there. And then anything local, whether it's stored on this particular device, this iPad, or music servers, could be any DLNA music server or a network share. So if you've shared something on the network and you want to be able to access that, that's where you would get it. USB music, I'll just show you that. See how we got the USB in the Heos 1? Here it appears, and then we just go into that and go into tracks or albums, and there they are, you know what I mean? And all the cover art will load if you've got metadata on it. It'll all come up. And then from there you can just select and start playing. These tiles you can move around, so you can click and drag, you know, however you like it. You can even hide some of the services. So if you want to make it really simplistic, you can hide services that aren't available, you know, with that customer, and off you go. So the first tab there is to select the room. You can sort of see that. So with multiple units on the network, they'll just all appear. Even the AVRs, let's say you've got a 2-zone Denon AVR, it will appear, and then both zones will appear under it, and then a little switch to either turn them on or off. And then you can play whatever you like in that zone. That's individual. On an AVR, you can play Foxtel in the main zone and Heos in the second zone, or both can play Heos or both can play Foxtel, or whatever you want to do, yeah? Okay, so you select your zone. Whatever's in red is the zone that is selected for you to control. All the other zones will just appear sort of not blacked out, but, you know, not highlighted in red. So once you've selected it, you pick what you want to play, and then you just go over to now playing screen and just hit the play button and off it goes. So a couple of things about the interface. In the top right hand corner, you add things to a queue, right? That's the way Heos operates. So the more tracks you add from different sources, it'll just all come up in the queue. If you want to add something from Spotify, something from Deezer, something from your local phone or hard drive or USB, it all ends up in the queue, and you just tap that button and all your tracks will be listed. If you love the way that queue is and you want to save that as a playlist, you just click on the little star, give it a name, playlist is stored. Done. If you wanted to manipulate, sorry, Gmail keeps coming up. If you want to manipulate the playlist or the queue rather, you can just hit the little pencil button, delete what you don't want, and off you go. You can delete tracks out of that as well. So really, really simple to use. And to get back to your nice cover art, you just tap the top right hand corner and you're here. A couple of other things, bass and treble control will appear just by tapping this little button here. So when you tap that, up come your bass and treble controls for that particular zone. If there's multiple zones, you'll get a list of the different zone names. Select it, bass, treble. Like for example with a subwoofer and the bar, you would have bass, treble and subwoofer control all there. You notice there's no subwoofer control on the back of the subs. So that's a little bit about the interface. I wanted to show you from a sort of like a troubleshooting perspective. You know, like most of our tech support calls are generally related to products that are not Heos related, so a router or a network issue. So most of the times there are tools that either your trade customers can look at, or a consumer can look at, or you might want to point them to it. I mean, we certainly use it. What happened there? Did we lose Wi-Fi? Did I lose Wi-Fi? I got two Wi-Fi things there. Oh no, you can't see it. Where's it gone? Here we go. I'll just check what Wi-Fi it's connected to. Yeah, okay, we're back. I think I might have my phone on hotspot. Here we go. Let's go back in. Right. So when we go to, I'll just show you that again. Sorry, I'm moving a little bit too fast. So from the music tab, in the top left-hand corner, you sort of can't see it there. You probably see it now. There's a little settings gear. So you just press that and up comes, a bunch of different, settings options. Add a device is where you would go to add a new Heos device. If it's a wireless device, you use that little 3.5mm cable that's included. Just follow the steps. It's really, really easy. And away you go. The other way to set up a Heos device is you've got WPS, so you can hit the connect button. Hit the connect button on your router, you're done. And of course, probably the easiest is just to plug in Ethernet, and it's there instantly on the network, right? So that's what you would do. My device is where you go to manage, aspects of that device. So if you wanted to go in and set a fixed IP address, you select the device, you go down to advanced, and it'll bring up this screen. So you can sort of see the wireless network interface. If you want to switch network, you can do it within here. And then if you want to give it a fixed IP address, you would do it there. Nice and easy. Okay, so just coming back to the main thing. Heos account, I'll talk about that in a second. Music sources, this is where you would go in and add account details for your various online music sources. If you wanted to rename inputs, you can do that here. And that's an idea. If you've got a heap of Heos products in a home, each speaker has at least one auxiliary input, and then an AVR has loads of inputs, a Heos amp, a drive, a bar, 4 HDMI inputs. So that input list can get really, really, really long. And if you're not using them all, you want to simplify it, you can hide the vast majority of those, and then you can rename the ones that you are using. Like Foxtel Lounge Room is connected to my soundbar and I want to be able to hear that outside. You can do that to make it simpler. This is where you do your network sharing. If I want to enable this iPad, the music on this iPad, to be shared out to another zone, you can do that as well. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, so that's the majority of the stuff that you want to muck around with there. Software update, self-explanatory. But the key thing that I want to show you when it comes to troubleshooting is this help section here. So once you go into that, it gives you a couple of options. The Check My System is probably the one that you would mostly go to, or you would encourage a contractor to look at, and in particular the network status. So once you're in network status, it's going to tell you, well, if it's wired, it's just going to say wired. But when it's wireless, this is what will give you the most information about the network. This is what we use mostly in troubleshooting for customers over the phone. Go here, go here, go here, bang. So what this does, it gives you a window to what that speaker is able to see on the Wi-Fi network. So this is not my tablet's Wi-Fi. This is the speaker's Wi-Fi and what it sees. Okay, so the first thing is to sort of see, it shows you, oops, keep that the right way, excellent and signal excellent. That's great, yeah, because our router is literally 30 centimeters away from the speaker. But by hitting that change view button down the bottom, it will show you the quality setting in a numeric value and the signal strength in a numeric value as well. And signal strength is measured in dBm, so it's an attenuation. So the closer to 0 you get, the stronger the signal it is. So minus 80 is a very, very weak signal. Minus 13 is abnormally strong. Typically, you would see maybe a minus 40, minus 50 in that sort of vicinity. That's normal. But the key important things to remember is that quality needs to be pretty much at 100%. Or at 100, or very close to, within the 90s as a bare minimum. If you start to see, or if the customer is seeing, or the tradie is seeing that quality at 80 or 75, and if it's jumping around a lot, then, and also at the same time, if the signal strength is minus 60, minus 65, minus 70, honestly, you're not going to get the right experience out of the product. The customers might feel that, yeah, the Telstra modem router or the one that TPG gave me, they're great. They're not really, because they were free. You guys know that. You guys sell better quality routers, and I'd highly, highly recommend that that's what you do. You always, because streaming music, streaming video is not like getting an email or looking up a web page, which is minimal amounts of data. So it's quite a lot different. So that's it's important that the bandwidth is there, and this is where typically you'll see most issues. And look, in a normal, smallish sort of residence, a $150 router with wireless is going to do the trick. And even your Telstra modems and other ones, most of the time work really well. However, in larger homes, that's where you start really getting some issues. And then, lo and behold, when you tell them to upgrade, and they do, wow, everything works much better now. Because you've just upgraded their Wi-Fi, so it's we call it digital plumbing. It's really, really important. Feel free to use my analogy. You can go out and buy a beautiful shower head, spend $1,000 on this mega shower head that'll fit an elephant, right? But if the plumbing and the copper piping behind it or whatever they're using is kinked, or it's it's rusty, oxidized, or whatever, it's half blocked. What sort of experience are you going to get out of that? It's going to be rubbish. And it's the same thing with networking and Wi-Fi. The difficult part is in explaining to them that you need more bandwidth, and more capabilities out of a network than when you're just surfing the web or whatever. Okay, so that's a couple of little pointers there to look at. Another good one is to look at software versions. So when you've got multiple devices, they'll all be listed here. If it's got the latest version, it's going to give you a tick. There's also an IP address there if you need troubleshooting and so forth. When everything sort of starts to turn really, really difficult and scratching your head, can't work out what's going on, we have the About screen and also another section that allows you to see more detail. MAC address is a whole lot, but also there's a little email button and an upload logs button. So that logs button triggers the speaker or the device to send a bunch of data, logs, events, back to the mothership, back to North Sydney, and they'll be able to analyse what's going on and sort of say, okay, we can see what the issue is. There's a bug. There's not a bug. There's just try this, do that, bang, problem solved. So when you do upload logs, it's quite normal. What will happen is that light will start flashing purple for about 30 seconds, and at the end of it, on your user interface here on your tablet, you'll see a little ticket number. And that ticket number, I'd highly recommend you get that to us. because then we can liaise with the engineers in North Sydney and say, can you take a look at that ticket number? We need to know what's going on there. And we can give them a bit of an explanation.
Does each device have a web UI that you can log in?
Yes, yes. So that one that you saw before when I did the IP address, that's it there. All right, there's some other bits and pieces. You can report an issue, and again, that will upload the logs, and you can give them a little bit more information.
Sorry, Joe, I might have missed this. Do you recommend putting static IP addresses on the Heos phone?
You don't have to. No, no need.
Improve response time or anything else?
No, what you really find is the typical things that trigger my mind or trigger me into thinking this network's not going to be good is things like, how you can group the rooms together. There's a pinch to party function. So when you've got all these rooms listed and you pinch the screen, they all group up to the one that's highlighted in red. If that's sitting there spinning for like 10-15 seconds, there is an issue with the way that network or that router is handling the connectivity, or even when you're ungrouping. Any sort of erratic behavior that you wouldn't normally expect, like, hey, I've just done the volume control and 3-4 seconds later it's happening, there's an issue with the network. Update that router. Sometimes it could be just a firmware fix. Just update the firmware in it and that will probably solve the issue, and if not, just get something a little bit newer. We've done a lot of on-site troubleshooting and spent hours and hours and hours, and 99% of the time it just comes back down to that router. Update it, change it out, problem solved. And people are happy because everything else works better then. Any other questions? All good? Yep. So, with the app, we've sort of run through how to get everything going. I think you sort of understand that. We can do some demos as set up later, but if not, we'll just keep going because there's a little bit more to cover to do with the individual products in the Heos family. So we're not going to go through all 27. Sorry to disappoint you. There's enough to go through anyway, just with the stuff that's Heos branded. So, all right, we'll kick off with the HS1. All of our speakers, as I mentioned, have a USB, have a 3.5mm input that can be shared everywhere, right? They all handle high-res playback. They all handle Bluetooth capability and the ability to share that everywhere else. The difference really between the speakers is the physical size, how loud they can play, and how full of sound they play. The only other unique thing to do with the Heos One is the fact that you've got the optional battery pack. So you can add that, and that gives you 6 hours of battery life on Bluetooth, on Wi-Fi, whatever you want. Move it around, take it around. Great unique thing with this is that when we're talking about our bar or the AVR and wireless surround sound, we're talking about real wireless, not even a power cable. So a great demonstration there is to have a couple of these with batteries on stands, not at the rear, but just put them at the front and say to the customer, let me show you real wireless surround sound. Pick up the stands, just on battery packs, plonk them there, and they'll be going, oh, there's no wires, there's not even power. No one does that, okay? So that's a nice little unique thing about this particular one, the Heos One. $299. With the add-on battery pack, which is in this next slide. This is working again, thank you, great. You've got this little silicon cover, which covers all the terminals on the back. So now it becomes IPX4 rated. You can put that next to the pool, splash it. If you forget it outside and it gets rained on, it's fine. There's a YouTube video of, I think the Russian Heos guys had some lady in a shower. It wasn't explicit or rude or anything, but knees down, you know, water's falling on it. CNET did a review where they had a tap running over the top of it, and away you go. It's really, really neat. All right, so that's the add-on battery pack, and it'll run for 6 hours. So then we move up to the Heos 3. Same functionality, high-res Bluetooth, connectivity, 3.5mm USB, bigger drivers, so there's dual custom drivers, 2 dedicated amplifiers, 1 for each driver. You can stereo pair these, you can use them as rears, however these don't have a battery pack, so you have to use power but everything else is wireless and works well. $449. So we're really in the market there, you know, against some of the key competition. Heos 5, my favourite, because it's nice, portable, it's compact. It sounds so much bigger than what its footprint is. So you got 2 tweeters, one on each side, 2 mid-bass drivers, and on the rear you've got a large bass, you know, radiator as well. So it sounds really nice. Fills a good medium to large room very, very well. Obviously you can stereo pair them and away you go. And all of our speakers are available in black and white. The Heos 7, here's pictured in white. This is the big kahuna. This has got 2 tweeters, 2 mid-bass drivers, a big active bass driver on the front, and on the rear there's 2 bass radiators, 2 large bass radiators on the back. You know, this cabinet, you could almost, you know, see it, you know, expanding and contracting as it's playing music. It sounds fantastic. Okay, now we're moving on to the new Heos Home Cinema HS2. So this looks more like the bar, which is the larger of the 2 sound bars. So it's gone a little bit sleeker, a little bit more narrow, and a couple of added features. So that's the sort of, you know, more slender approach that it's taking. Uniquely, this is the first Heos branded product that has AirPlay on board, and will have AirPlay too, like our receivers. So all of our Heos enabled receivers have AirPlay. All of our normal speakers don't have AirPlay, but this will, and there's probably, you know, going to be some nice cool updates down the track with AirPlay as well, not only just AirPlay 2. So it does Dolby Digital DTS, decoding, share your TV sound to other zones, which is great. So when you want to hear the cricket outside, you can do that. When the TV's off, it's your music system. People love it. They're not just buying a sound bar, they're buying a music system as well, and it sounds awesome. There's HDMI input and an output with audio return channel. So you know how you've got HDMI CEC? You don't have to learn the remote. It just knows through the TV. Even if you've got an LG or, you know, a Samsung remote that's Bluetooth or whatever RF, the command goes to the TV and then through the HDMI cable to the soundbar and says volume up, volume down. So it's really, really cool. Coax, optical and analog inputs there as well. The subwoofer is included. IR pass-through. So if the soundbar happens to cover the IR receiver, you've got a little 2.5mm connection and a little IR blaster you can stick on the soundbar on the TV, and you always remain in control there. So one other difference compared to the previous home cinema is that it now is powered through a figure 8. So if you're mounting it a little bit higher, the other one had like a little power brick or a little transformer, let's call it. So if it was really high, you'd have to either extend the cable or somehow feed the brick through the gyprock. So now it's a lot easier just with a figure 8. Price stays the same. Connectivity, you know, it's pretty much best in class for, you know, that sort of range. You know, when you compare it to some of the other products out there, you've got loads there. All those inputs and outputs can be shared. That HDMI ARC can be shared as well, which is really, really neat. Okay, this brings us to the next level up, the Heos bar. So what this does that the home cinema doesn't do is wireless surrounds. It's a bigger bar, bigger sound, more drivers, more HDMI inputs, but also, you know, the fact that it allows you to do wireless rears. So this actually has a secondary Wi-Fi engine in it that your rear speakers and subwoofer connect to. Okay, so that's why you can do it with this. There's effectively 2 Wi-Fi engines there. So you can go cabinet placement, wall placement, and this is the real key selling point of it, is the fact that it handles all of these great surround sound formats wirelessly. Dolby Vision is obviously more of a 4K type you know, system, but you can use any rear speakers as well. So it doesn't have to be Heos 1s. It can be, I mean, great on battery packs, but it can be Heos 3s, 5s, 7s. If you have a home that already has existing in-ceiling speakers, you can use a Heos amp to run the rear speakers. No problem. It's really flexible. Okay, so 9 drivers in the front. It doesn't need a sub if you just want better TV sound. It sounds really good. It sounds as good as some of our speakers, you know, just on their own, you know, like a Heos 7, for example. But if you're using it for TV and movies, you've got to have a sub. You know, who doesn't want a sub? And of course, yeah. So these are, I won't bore you with all the bullet points, but it ticks all the boxes. It does the high-res audio, the full surround sound formats with wireless rears, Bluetooth's on board. It's $12.99 as a bar. It's a big bar. You can see it. It sounds big as well. The matching subwoofer. Now this can, and obviously matches perfectly with the Heos bar, but can be used in other or with other Heos products as well, with a speaker. If you want a stereo pair of Heos 1s and you need a bit more oomph, you know, at a commercial job, a cafe or something, you can tuck that sub away somewhere and just have Heos 1s mounted on wall brackets everywhere, and you get the doof, which is really, really nice, as well as, you know, nice even sound around with smaller speakers. So great for the Heos bar, but can be set up with any of these other products as a wireless sub, which is great. Yep. The Heos Link, this is good for both residential and commercial jobs. I'll just bring it all up. But that adds Heos capabilities to any existing sound system. That's basically it. So someone's got a commercial 70 volt, 100 volt line, and you want to bring Spotify in, or Deezer, or anything, you know, even local music, USB, whatever, you can do that with this. So that adds Heos functionality and app control all through the one device. You know, it ticks all the boxes is there. If you've got an older Denon or Marantz receiver that has network control or network capabilities, when you hit play, this device will tell that amp to switch on, switch to the input, and the little volume slider controls the volume of the receiver, the AV receiver, which is cool. Can do it via IR for older Denons as well, but you know, plenty of connectivity. You want to plug in, you know, optical from a TV or analog, you can do that as well and share that out. There's even a subwoofer connection. So in a commercial job, to have separate subs, you know, going to a separate sub amp, you can do that. You can use a wireless sub as well. The Heos amp has loads and loads of balls, 2 by 100 watts. It's very powerful. It will easily drive 2 floor standing speakers, or you can run in ceilings. You can run it down to 4 ohms, so 2 pairs of in ceiling speakers that are 8 ohm rated, and you know you don't want to run 2 separate amps, you can run them all off the one, which is fine. It works really, really well. So high res, it ticks all the boxes. We'll move on. There's a subwoofer connection there as well. This is your Heos AVR. So this is for customers that want a receiver, that receiver functionality with some HDMI switching capabilities. You know, would like the simplicity of a soundbar that just turns on when the TV's on and the sound comes on, but want something better again. They want to use their own speakers, or they want to use higher quality speakers. That's where the Heos AVR comes in. So it's a full-blown, you know, normal AVR, just in compact size, with that lifestyle sort of customer focus, aluminium top. Looks really, really nice and sleek. Does all the you know, the surround sound formats that you would want to do in a 5.1 setup. There's 5 channels of amplification on board. However, the rears, you can use wireless rears, no problem. Or a Heos amp if you want wireless rears, but sort of why would you do that when you've got amplification there? Unless there's like a big steel beam in the middle and you can't feed cable, or, you know, there's always unique things, and this will solve a few problems. 4 HDMI ins, all the 4K video capabilities on all of our bars and this AVR as well. Bluetooth's on board, very, very simple. It even comes with a little basic IR remote. All of the Heos products as well, from a commercial sort of perspective, or, you know, high-end residential, if you want to use a control system, it works perfectly in with those as well, which you'll see in a couple of other slides. This is where we start to get to some more commercial or really large residential solutions. So the Heos Drive is a 2RU rack mount, and there are 4 amplified zones in it. So 8 channels of amplification. I mean, you could do, you know, one zone which has got, you know, 2 speaker outputs. You can mono sum them. So let's say you're doing an office There's a male and a female toilet, right? Rather than using, you know, 2 zones and putting in stereo speakers in each, which if that's what they want, that's great. You could use 1 zone. It just plays the same music in both male and female toilets, but you get the full mono-summed sound out of each speaker. So you just put 1 speaker in each. Volume stays, you know, pretty much the same, and it just plays the whole, you know, sound out of it. You got bass management. You got, you know, the ability to run back. Everyone knows what a Blue Stream Cat 100 is. You know, from a TV, you can run an optical audio back across Cat 5. You can run it back into this, and that'll take a Dolby Digital signal in and play it out to any zone. You can stack 8 of these. See, cascade up to 8. And have 32 zones of independent music or grouped. It's pretty cool. So that doesn't take a lot. It takes 16 RU, about yay big. That's 32 zones of independent audio. It's all controlled through an app. It doesn't have to be just these. You can use 10 speakers, 2 sound bars, 1 of those, and 1 of these ones. So if you have your own amplification, already existing, could be a massive 100-volt line system or whatever, this gives you 4 independent streaming zones. So you can have different music playing in different areas of that large system, or of course you can cascade these as well. So this is a 1 RU rack mount, you know, for commercial pubs, clubs, you know, restaurants, or high-end residential. Third-party control I mentioned, you know, we tick pretty much all the key boxes when it comes to control systems. You guys probably don't sell any control systems, do you? Or not really? But your contractors might, your customers do, so off you go. Now, we're not here trying to do an ad for Vogels, but there are some really nice brackets and stands, and we just put this here just to make people aware. Hopefully you've got speaker brackets and stuff as well that you can use and sell, so I won't dwell on this too much, but it just shows that there is stuff that you can use, you know, to mount speakers up and do whatever you want to do. This slide is just so that we can go do some demos, and pretty much it brings us to the end of, you know, the presentation. I know there's a lot of information there. Hopefully you just, you know, remember those 3 key points, and that is the high-res audio, the Bluetooth capabilities of sharing it across a multi-room scenario, and the USB functionality for commercial and residential purposes. It's really, really cool. Any questions?
In the commercial industry, do they have admin control over the app? User control over the app if you weren't putting it in commercial industry?
So in a commercial, it's got to be on a network, right? Yeah. So the only way you could secure it is by securing that part of the network, or create a VLAN, for example. Create a little VLAN. It's something that the guys, you know, like they make a long list of things that would be nice to have, and they, you know, even for that same thing could be done for a home. You know, little Johnny. We all know little Johnny, right? He might, you know, like if I've got a soundbar in my master bedroom, he might think I'll get Dad, you know, and I'll just crank it up 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, you know. So that application would be really, really good across both, and it is on their list of things to do. It's a good question, but what I would do in a commercial aspect is they're more likely to have a VLAN, and I would just create a separate network that only, you know, an admin can use. Is that a common thing you get asked for a lot?
Yeah, well, in the commercial industry,
Yeah.
yes.
No, it's a good question.
Because, I mean, management, you only want to give them a certain amount of access and control.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not there as
Yeah, I know what you mean.
and use the interface a certain amount. So be able to block out certain features and certain settings.
Yes.
Levels.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes, completely makes sense. Obviously possible on the AVRs, not password protected or anything on these yet, so you would just have to do it, yeah. I mean, look, there's not a lot you can stuff up, really. I mean, other than bass treble controls. Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was saying it, but, you know, it's not terribly hard to rectify anyway.
Does it have MAC address filter in the app? Or
Not in the app, but you can do that. So there is a MAC address, easily be able to go to the About screen, and it will show you for every device it's wired MAC address and wireless MAC address.
I was thinking about then also the access as well, so that limited, so that my MAC address for my iPhone
can only access that. That's another way to do it if you're good with networking. That's a good suggestion. Absolutely. So that's another way to do it. Questions? Other real life scenarios where you've had to try to, solve?
We don't get too much now. The version 1.
Yes.
It's true that if you had, say, 4 version 1s, grabbed a version 2, you can group them still.
Yes, absolutely. No problem. All of our speakers are backward compatible. There was a slide there which I took out because I just didn't want to keep adding. There's so much info, but we talk about high res, right? The previous models weren't high res. So if you do have a new model and you're mixing and matching and you want to play high res music, the new model will actually transcode it down to CD quality for the other zones. So there is a lot of backward compatibility there. I mean, the same software updates that just happened last night and happen regularly also happen for the older models. So they're completely, even the Heos bar, right? That's a Series 2 model. But if a customer had 2 Heos 3s or 2 Heos 1s or whatever of a Series 1 version, no problem. Even if they have a 1 and a Series 1 and a Series 2 as rear speakers, no problem. You can still stereo pair them. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
Did you drop the quality from the version 2s as well?
No. Oh, well, only for high res.
Only for high res?
Only for high res, yeah.
High res through the version 2s that drop to the version 1.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. So transcode version 2. You play it on that becomes your master, and it transcodes it down or converts it down to CD quality. Yeah. You will hear a difference if you've got a half decent sort of hearing. You will hear. That's what I was saying earlier. High res, you're not going to hear 4 times the better, but it is better, and that's why you Google it, and the whole music industry is going that way because A, they can charge more, and B, it sounds better. So. It's the future. Exactly. Thank you very, very much for your attention, guys. Really appreciate it. All right, guys.